God, spirituality, love, existence, everything is a big steaming pile of holy horseshit that we bury ourselves in like a security blanket in order to feel comfortable and ignore the fact that we are actually miserable, lousy failures, every one of us. So, now Sartre says that even atheists and people with a full knowledge of the futility and meaninglessness of life, even those of us who can smell the stink of all that shit, know and still choose to act our lives as though our lives are predetermined. We act like we're objects who aren't obviously free to do anything that we want all the time. We keep waiting even after we know that waiting is fruitless, which he calls bad faith. So this brings up an interesting thing about Lucky and Passo, and something that I didn't really put together until I started writing this down. Now, how Lucky and Passo works, if I can get a volunteer to play Lucky for me. So,
That's not fair.
Pete here is Lucky, and I am Passo, and we walk up to a stranger, and I say, I present myself, Passo. Passo, does that name mean nothing to you? Well, you appear to be human beings. You appear to be the same species as myself, same species as Passo, made in God's image. Yes. Oh, this is Lucky. He's a master of the performing arts. He'll do anything you want to see him do if you give me $1. Anything at all. Anything. And this is where the interesting thing is. The interesting thing about this is that now I realize that in the Lucky and Passo gimmick, at this point, what we're doing is denying bad faith. We've given people absolute assurances that Lucky can breathe fire, levitate, leap over buildings, sing songs he's never heard before, and do backflips. Lots of fucking backflips. But, of course, the results are mostly disappointing, but for 1 minute there, when we offer that, we're offering the whole world for $1. Complete freedom. So back to Sartre. In Nausea, he explores a couple of different examples of ways that even atheists will practice bad faith. He calls them adventures and perfect moments. An adventure is when you invoke an energetic, euphoric approach to some otherwise unremarkable set of activities. You go out, you take a walk, but you imagine that it's special. You make specialness onto it, and you feel like you're in love with something. But this, like any love, amounts to suspending your agency, to not being responsible for your actions, and in a way escaping yourself. So you become an object, a pinball bouncing willy-nilly through the night. And drugs and alcohol often assist. You all know what I'm talking about? You've had adventures, you know people who go for adventures. And so that's what an adventure is. The other thing Sartre talks about is perfect moments. And these are almost the opposite thing. Here you create a specific situation and insist that everything that happens there is perfect. That nothing is out of place. And then when one little thing is misplaced or poorly timed, when some insensitive slob comes through and clumsily insults all your careful plans, the perfection is ruined forever. And you freak out. You've all done this too, right? Some of you have, I know. Some of you have.
I have.
There you go. All right, so anyway, I'm in bed with Kate, and I don't remember exactly when. It might have been even the first night that we spent together, which was followed the first time that we played Lucky and Passo together. And I'm talking about how she seems to be an adventurer, whereas my ex-girlfriend's more preferred perfect moments. And with me playing the insensitive slob who ruins it. So anyway, we're talking, and she asked me the obvious question, and what is my bad faith? I mean, if all belief systems, ideals, relationships, drugs, nostalgia, and even things like adventures and perfect moments are bad faith, then so is anything else. And you can't escape it. And life is really just about choosing which kind of bad faith that you will pitifully submerge yourself into. And that night, I realized that my bad faith of choice was complete experiences. Now, Lucky and Passo is a great example of creating a possible complete experience. There's potential for this one act to simultaneously advance me toward my goals on every dynamic variable, and this is what makes it complete. Financially, artistically, philosophically, physically, mentally, politically, socially, the action moves all things forward and none back. Lucky and Passo encounters strangers with unexpected and absurd things while also earning some DIY money, challenging myself, body and mind, meeting people, and promoting insurgent theater, which exists not only to create theater, but more importantly, to participate in the way that DIY art is reshaping our society. I can talk about that for a very long time, but I don't need to, because now that you understand what a complete experience is, I can finally tell the story. So, it was Ian Clark's first time playing Pazzo, and I was lucky. And in the first 10 minutes of this outing, we met somebody who I consider one of Milwaukee's greatest cultural assets. Someone who I really respect, and for various reasons, this person will likely achieve most of my goals better than I ever will, without even trying to. This person is Faith Levine, who runs Paper Boat and Art vs. Craft, and wrote Handmade Nation. And this was the first time that I'd met Faith, and unfortunately, she was kicking me out of Art vs. Craft. Because Lucky and Pazzo don't need permission for anything. We go anywhere. We'd been kicked out of the Milwaukee Art Museum, hell yeah, and we'd been surprisingly tolerated at Vogel Hall when they had a performance night thing. We had various other experiences at various other institutions. And besides, Lucky is a master of the performing arts. How is art going to stand up against craft without his support? But as it turns out, Faith Levine didn't think letting us in would be fair to her fee-paying vendors, and Ian, this being his first time, was too green to kind of plead our case, and I was mute at the end of the rope. So we were out on the curb in the first 10 minutes before performing a single stunt for a single $1. They did give us our admission money back, and you were at the door, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I remember that.
We went back out to the east side, and we hit Brady Street, and then made our way up Farwell. I don't remember many of the stunts that we pulled that afternoon, but it was going well enough that despite the setback of being kicked out at Art vs. Craft, we were in a good mood. Which brings us to the climax of the story. We're outside the Oriental Theater, and this young couple, late high school, early college age, they're getting out $1 for Pazzo, and the girl, she asks, "Will he hang himself from that stoplight?" And I'm lucky, so I'm on autopilot. I'm not there. It's bad faith. I am an object. And Lucky walks over to the stoplight, stands up on the crate, tosses the end of the rope over the metal bar, puts the other end around his neck, and catches the end of the rope, and then kicks the crate out from under me. So I'm standing there, and I don't pause to think about the fact that most hangings, it's the snap of the neck in the rope that's fatal and not the strangulation. But I don't think about it, and luckily the fact that I'm holding the other end of the rope kind of absorbs some of that impact, and I'm okay. But I'm hanging there. And after a few seconds, I realize that I can't breathe and that my throat's beginning to hurt. So I let go of the rope, which slips loose. I hit the ground, fall over. And the girl who requested this action, she's horrified. Her boyfriend is totally puzzled, and even Ian is staring at me agape, just like, what? And I'm prying my fingers in to get the rope loose so I can get some air. And this girl, she's kind of a heavy-set young woman with an eccentric sort of like childish fashion sense. Lots of clashing colors, lots of buttons on her clothes, and like even stuffed animal parts sewn on her hoodie and barrettes and stuff like that. She started to cry. And she asked Ian if she could hug me. He didn't charge her another $1, even though he should have. But I assured her that I was okay, and I walked away massaging my larynx and talking with a frog in my throat for a week. But yeah, the greatest thing about Lucky and Pazzo is that when we open up any possibility for people, when we offer the opportunity to see someone do anything you want, you put a little bit of yourself out there when you respond. Lucky performs, and sometimes you get yourself reflected back at you. You get what you want. I can't think of another work of art that I've done that has that much potential power. The girl walked away knowing something that she didn't before. She realized in a deep and true way that at least sometimes, when encountering a random stranger, the thing she most wants from them is to see them dead.